Hey friends, you're never going to believe this. This is literally the fourth time I have started this project. I keep making mistakes on it, so I'm going to show you where I made my mistakes so that hopefully you won't make the same mistakes I've made. Today we're going to talk about value. Value is one of the elements of art. It's one of the ingredients, along with line, shape, color, texture, space, and form, that artists use when they're creating their work. Value talks about the lightness or darkness of a surface. And today we're going to create a value scale so that you can see a range of values and that you will know how to make them. And then you can use this value scale when you are drawing to make sure that you use as many values as you can. So our value scale is going to look like this, or maybe like this. These are the ones that I've made in the other videos where I've been making my mistakes. I don't make my mistakes on the value scale. I make my mistakes when we're doing our project to practice making values. So hopefully this time, fourth time is the charm. Okay, so for this project you will need a ruler, a pencil, and I just have a regular old pencil, and a piece of paper. Oops, I dropped my project. Hang on. Okay. All right, so this is just a piece of copy paper. And the first thing we're going to do is make a box that is 6 inches by 1 inch. And by the way, this is not where I made my mistake. I do know how to make a box, but hey, nobody's perfect, right? Okay, so divide your box into 6 other boxes. So each box will be 1 inch, okay? And you can always pause the video if it's taking you a little while to make your box. If you don't have a ruler, just estimate, it's fine. Okay, so this is our value scale, and we are going to number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 6 will be, or 1 is our lightest value, it's white, and 6 will be our darkest value. So we're going to start from lightest to darkest. So we're going to leave number 1 blank. We're going to leave it white, and we're going to do just the very lightest, I'm barely touching the paper, coloring in box number 1. Okay. So we need to make box number 3, 4, 5, and 6 the same value as box number 2. So you'll notice I'm holding my pencil at the very end. It's just a little bit easier to make a very light mark on your paper if you're holding your pencil a little bit further back. If you hold your pencil down here and do the same pressure that I was just doing, it looks like that. So it's just a little bit easier to hold your pencil back a little bit further. So now we need to go to box number 3, and we're going to add another layer. So it's just going to be a little bit darker, and we need to do 4, 5, and 6 the same way so that they all have the same value as box number 3. Okay, so we have white, and then a very light value, and then it's getting a little bit darker. And now we need to go to box number 4. We're going to add another layer to box number 4, and then we need to make box 5 and 6 the same value as box number 4. So I want to show you something with my pencil. So I like to do this with my pencil to create a tip that has a little bit of an angle on it. I don't know if you can see that. And it just makes it a little bit easier to shade, okay? So now we are ready for box number 5. So I'm going to put another layer on box number 5. And then I would have to make box number 6 and box number 5 the same. And then I'm ready to put my final layer on box number 6. Okay, so as you can see, it's just an extra layer on each box that makes the value change. Okay, and I know we have done this before in school, but it's a really good thing to practice and be really good at. The more you do, the more you look at values, the better you're able to see the different values, and then you can use them when you're doing your artwork. It's the best way to make your artwork look realistic. Okay, so after you've completed your value scale, a good way to practice using values is to create a piece of op art. So op art is that style of art that uses optical illusions, and you will create this illusion of this vortex today using curved lines and value. Okay, so we actually use 2 of the elements of art when we're working on, well, 3 really, when we're working on this project, because we're going to use the element of line to create the lines. We're going to use the element of color, and then we're going to use the element of value. So 3 elements of art we'll be practicing when we make this project right here. Okay, so my project is really small. I made it the size of my hand, but you can make the project any size you want. It just needs to be square. Okay, so I have a larger one to show you. Now, when I did this before, this is where I've been making all my mistakes. So I'm actually going to do this in a pencil to start with, because I think what's happening is that I'm talking and not paying attention. Can you imagine? Okay, so we need to make a vanishing point. Now, when we've done this in school, we have done, if you have made one of these at school, we probably put the vanishing point kind of towards the middle. So if you've already done one of these and you are doing another one just for fun, try putting your vanishing point somewhere else on your paper and see how it changes the result. Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle. But again, if you've done this before, try putting your vanishing point somewhere else on your paper. And I need to make an even number of curved lines coming out of my vanishing point. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so an even number of lines coming on my vanishing point. Now, here's where I keep making mistakes. So we need to make these curves go one direction on one tube and then the opposite direction on the other tube. And I've been talking so much, that's where I've been making my mistakes. So that's why I decided to use pencil this time. So I'm going to start with my smallest curves. And I am going to go opposite. Each time you need to go opposite. And I'm making this space small because we know as things go further away from us, they appear smaller. Okay, so let's make sure I did this right. Smile, frown, smile, frown, smile, frown, smile. Okay, so I kind of want this next one to be a little bit close to this too, because this, as this vortex goes away from us, it's going away from us, so it's going to be smaller. So I'm going to do this one, not super close, but somewhat close. Okay. And you know, you can always pause the video so that you can concentrate and not be distracted by the sound of my voice. Okay. Okay, so that's one way to do it, to keep turning your paper and doing it. Another way to do it, some people like to do, is they just like to do the whole thing at once. Okay, you can do it that way too if you want. Okay. So you can see how there's different ways you can do it, whatever way you feel comfortable with. Now this is why we want to have our messy mat here, because you might want to go down here and do this, and then that would go off the paper. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to make these curves like that. Okay, and you can see that each time I do this, my curves are going in the opposite direction. Okay. And those ones are going off the page. So I want to always make sure that I have some kind of messy mat or some kind of paper under here so that I don't make a mess on the kitchen table or wherever it is that you do your artwork. Okay, hopefully I will finish doing this without making a mistake. Now, after I do this, I would take a Sharpie and go over all these lines, which I am not going to sit here and make you watch me do that. Okay, finish this last one. What I'll probably do is maybe I'll just do one so that you can see. You do want to have this with a Sharpie, done with the Sharpie, because it just makes it a little bit easier to see the changes between the tubes. Okay, so when you're finished and you have this much done, erase your pencil marks if you choose to do it the way I do it, because you're easily distracted and cannot remember which way you need to draw your lines. So okay, so now I'm ready to do my coloring. All right, we're just going to erase any extra lines here. And there we go. I'm going to choose complementary colors, but you could choose anything. I'm choosing complementary colors and that I use them this way, but you can color yours any way you want. I think it would be really cool to do like rainbow. I would like to do that. Maybe I'll do that on this next one. So I think I was going to do complementary colors, and then I decided, let's do rainbow. So just in case you're forgetting, complementary colors, red and green, purple and yellow, and blue and orange. Okay. All right. But I think I would like to do, I'm going to start with red, because I think I'm going to do some rainbow colors and see what happens. So I'm going to start at the very bottom. And when you do this and you're looking at your tubes, the highlight is always in the center. This is what is going to be we're trying to make this look like it's the closest to you, the closest. So we're going to go from a value of 2, so it's going to have 1 layer on it. So remember our value scale. We're going to go from a value of 2 and probably try to get as many of these values in as we can. So what we'll do is we'll put a and you can hold your pencil at the end, put a very, 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 very light value in there, okay? And you can do the same thing with your colored pencil as you did with your other pencil. And then we're going to leave that middle. We're going to put our second layer on, and I will show you this on like one of these bigger ones too, okay? I should have just started there. And then we'll put a third value on, closer to the edge, or a third layer on. Mrs. Parker, get it together. And then if you want, you can just really darken it up on the edge. So let me go up to one that's a little bit, going to be a little easier to see. So let's do this one right here. So and you want to make sure you are coloring in the same direction as your lines, okay? You do not want to color like this, okay, because that's not going to help with the illusion. You want your lines to be going the same way as your coloring lines to be going the same way as the lines you've drawn. Okay, so that's the first layer. You can barely see it. So now I'm going to leave this middle part, that value, and I'm going to go and add a second layer, but I'm not going all the way to the center. Okay, I'm adding a second layer on each side, but I'm not going all the way to the center. And remember, when you're shading, you want to make sure you are coloring in the same direction as the lines that you're shading around. So you can kind of see that this is a lighter value and this is a little darker. So now I'm going to go here and I'm going to add another layer. Okay, so that would be like our third layer. Okay, and you can see how the value is changing. I feel like I left this white area too big, so I can go over and fix that just by adding a little more value there. Always coloring in the same direction as your circles, okay? Or as your circles, as your lines. Okay, and then our darkest value is going to be on the edge. Okay, so you can go over that quite a few times. You want that to be dark. That's the only place where you can kind of go like that. Okay, because I definitely want that to be nice and dark. Okay, okay, so these values need to be kind of smoothed out a little bit. You can see that you can really see where it goes dark, medium, lighter. So you can smooth those out a little bit, but don't go where your lightest value is. Don't go over that center part, okay? But you can definitely smooth these out a little bit. And I'm not pressing very hard, okay? Just giving it a little bit more. You can press harder when you get closer to the edge here, okay? Okay, so this is what you would want to do. Now, this is a lot of coloring if you decide to make one this big. So what I would do is I would do a little bit at a time. You would not want to try to color this thing all in one go because your hand will probably fall off. So don't do that, okay? Just do a little bit of it, and then when you want to come back to it, okay? Okay, so another option is, let's see, what did I do with it? If you want to go a different route and just want to use your pencil, this is just a little piece of abstract art that you can make to practice value. And I just drew 2 lines with my ruler and then just did a little loop-de-loop. And then take each section and color it from, make sure you have at least 3 values in it. One thing I did find that made it a little bit easier with this, and I'll show you on here. So let's say here's our box, okay, and I drew a line like this and a line like this with my ruler, and all right, let's say I have that. So if I'm trying to make the value for this shape, I found it easier to start with a mid-tone in that shape, and then you can go a little bit lighter. Remember to do that with your pencil. Sometimes they get these little chunks in them. I don't even know what it is. Okay, and then go to your darker value. Okay, and you can always erase that extra that comes out here, okay? So I start with my mid-tone, and then I'm going to put another layer down here. And just like when you make your value scale, just keep adding extra layers. That's the easiest way to do it, okay? Now, some people, let's talk about blending for just a second. I wasn't going to, but let's do it. Some people like to blend with their finger, and you can do that, but a lot of artists do not do that because the oils from your finger can get on your paper. And the other thing is that sometimes it muddies it so much that it mixes the graphite so much that you just can't even see a transition from light to dark. You just see one big gray blob. One thing you can use to blend though is if you want, you can use a paper towel, and you can fold the paper towel till you just have like a little corner like this, and you can use that to blend. That can help make that, you can see how that sort of makes it a little bit of a smoother transition. This needs a lot more work. Or you can use a Q-tip. Let me see if I have a Q-tip up here in my stash of stuff. Okay, you can just use a regular old Q-tip. And so if you are blending, let's go from light to dark. Okay, and you would like to blend that together. You can use a Q-tip to do that. Okay, so if you want to play with that a little bit, and I shouldn't have gone up there with my Q-tip because then I'll get this dark value up here. But if you want to play with that a little bit and do something like this, that's totally up to you. Now, remember, these are not going to be graded. I just want to see what you've done. So if you make something, you can send me a picture. I would love to see it. And I miss you guys, and I really hope that I can see you soon. Bye.